we're all Southerners around here. We love boiled peanuts.
Uh-oh.
Is there a dog growling somewhere?
I guess she's finally going to make her first appearance. There's
Is that a Rottweiler?
That is Riley. That is Riley the Roddy's.
Oh man,
she may be having to exit stage left, but it's been good. We'll just see if anybody walks by the door.
Hey, if it's bring your dog to work day, I can bring Cooper on screen. Now, he's a little Boston Terrier puppy. He doesn't have a growl like that. He doesn't have it in him.
I got Deweese sitting right here. She's asleep, though. She sits next to me every morning, doesn't say a word. I said boiled peanuts, and I was unsure if that was someone's stomach or that was a dog growling. Either way, GameDayNuts.net. You can order them, have them sent to your home. And there are no shells. Great for pets, by the way. GameDayNuts.net. Order them on the Chiefs Sports app. Man, that was awesome. that was fun.
There you go, Preston.
Oh.
It's great. We all probably need a little bit of cheering up. So Cooper, Riley, all the dogs in the family, cheer us up.
That's funny. That is funny. All right, man. Coach Beamer's going to meet with the media today at 1:00. Preston, let's start with that. We'll get in. Look, all the football stuff has just been talked to death. We have all seen it for 7 games. We know what it looks like. I mean, we really want to sit there and put this thing in neutral and just keep grinding our gears. We really want to do that. But, it did look like Shane this weekend. I thought he had a couple of rough moments. I thought he probably could have handled a couple of things a little bit better. I know that he has since, kind of had, hey, man, I don't mean anything personal. I'm just pretty pissed off. But what do you think about him, where he is right now with his 3-4 football team?
Okay, so I think there's a small picture and a larger picture. One, I hate that I even have to say this, but I do think Shane is the person for this program.
Sure.
And it's kind of silly that we even have to reiterate that, but I want to state that up top by saying I do think, as you stated, Shane regressed a little bit this weekend on the off the field things that I thought he was growing out of. Some of those things early in his coaching career, Shane is a highly led by his emotions. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's the thing that we love about him. But I think this weekend he sort of regressed. It reminded me of that that Georgia press conference when he was talking about having the 5-star guys and the kind of like that stuff. I thought he had sort of grown out of that a little bit, and he's obviously human, and much like most of us, sometimes when we get in stressful situations, we resort back to our bad habits. And I think that's what he did a little bit this past weekend.
Yeah, it looked to me like I was listening to Jack yesterday. He was asked about it, and Jack had a great response, and said, hey, look, I felt like I was doing my job. These people subscribed to my website, and I felt like the question needed to be asked. So first and foremost, hat tip to Jack. I know that he's a competitor of ours, but that doesn't matter to me. It's a guy doing his job. And then he also said, hey, look, Shane and I we're fine. He's always been great to me. I looked at the way that he kind of reacted, and I thought to myself, this is a guy who, and we all know Shane, and we all like him. This is nothing personal. If I was in his shoes, would I have acted any differently? This is my first head coaching job. And quite frankly, this is the first time in his career where he has had this type of adversity. For the first time at the University of South Carolina as the head football coach, his team is expected to be maybe one of the best teams in college football, maybe in the college football playoffs this year. And they have greatly underperformed. And so this is the biggest chunk of adversity that he's had to deal with from the high to the low, not from the low getting to the high, from the high to the low. And it's probably another moment, at least in my opinion, that he'll learn from. And if this happens again, hopefully it doesn't, but if it happens again, he'll handle it in a much different manner.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just think he's in a very stressful situation, and like most of us, when we probably get in our stressful situations, you might just revert to old habits. And also, as Jack stated, I mean, it would have been just a pointed conversation between two dudes if it wasn't everybody else watching.
Yeah.
And I think Shane obviously has to be aware of that, and that's something he knows. And It's not the best situation, but it's by far not the worst situation. He was short with a reporter. I think Jack handled it well, and you just kind of move on.
If you're a reporter, it's going to happen at some point in time.
It should. It should happen if you're doing your job. It probably you should bump up against
Exactly.
It was like I said, it was a fair question. It was a tough question, yes, but I think it was fair. And I kind of feel like it's the same way I sort of feel like a dust up on the field. It's kind of like all right, separate, move on, we'll be all right.
100%. And it's over. You know what? And I would venture a guess, just knowing Shane, he will probably say something about it today at some point in time. Because I know one thing, Miss Emily won't put up with it. He probably got a lashing when he got home on Saturday night if she happened to catch that. All right, so let's talk about the position that he's in here for a second, Mr. Thorne. Look, his eyeballs work as well as anybody's in his brain and the whole 9 yards. I mean, he's got all that stuff going for him, right? He knows what he's seeing out there. I tell you what, let me pivot and ask this question a little bit differently. Do you think if he had a surefire answer to replace Mike Shula with, that he would have already done it, or would have the wheels in motion to be doing that right now?
Yeah, I think every coach, if they had the solution, they would try and implement it. I do think if he felt there was a better way to go about it, he would. Now, that could lead to a bigger question of maybe why isn't there another solution, or why aren't there other solutions that can be asked? But I don't think any coach ever goes into a season or a game not thinking that they aren't doing the best that they possibly can at that moment.
I mean, do you think moving forward, I'm asking you a personal question here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think moving forward that he, during the season, will make a change at OC? Like, if I said predict this today in the middle of the season, do you think Mike Shula finishes the 2025 season as the offensive coordinator?
I don't. Based on the numbers, I mean, it's not subjective. When you look at every number that's worth anything, and you're last 13th, 15th in the SEC, that's obviously unacceptable. And also, just for the morale of everybody in the program, you can't continue to do the same thing. So I don't know whether that would be in a public way, whether that would happen, or whether that would be maybe more behind the scenes, or maybe we're just going to make this more collaborative. But I don't think. I really don't. Honestly, after last week's performance, I think there probably needs to be some significant changes in how the game plan is being designed.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there is a better time? For instance, they play Alabama, and then they go to Ole Miss, and then they have an off week. Do you think that there is a time that would be better, or is, hey, if you're going to do it, why not just do it?
Yeah, I think you just rip the Band-Aid off and go ahead and get it done. I mean, and to the point, I've seen a lot of people bring up, there's not other play callers on the staff, but come on, man, everybody's been around football. They can put their heads together enough to get a game plan together. So I don't think that's a reason/excuse for it not to be done. They're all in the same means. And I'm not saying, you're going to overhaul the offense and all of a sudden you're going to start running a totally different offense. But there's capable people enough that can get a game plan together.
Yeah, I mean, Mike and I were talking about this yesterday, because I don't look. I think I've never met Mike Shula before, Preston, but I would like to. I would love to sit there and talk football with this guy. I really like him as a human being. I mean, obviously what we've seen this year hasn't worked as an OC, but on a personal level, like I would like to chat with this dude and learn as much as I can about this sport. I mean, he's got a ton upstairs, right? But obviously it hasn't worked. But Mike and I mentioned yesterday, I mean, can it get any worse? Like, I don't know that it can. So why not?
It can't get worse. And again, but just looking by the numbers of A lot of times I think as fans or media, you kind of maybe second guess what you're seeing, or you don't want to get into hyperbole and saying, "Oh, it's the worst ever," but we are on track for some of the worst ever. And the numbers right now, you can't get further below than the bottom. And so, to your point, yeah, there can be a change being made, whether that's additional collaboration or change in who's making the calls or whatever the case is. Something, and I'll say this: as a staff, it's not working because everybody's involved in it. He's obviously the leader, but everybody involved is part of being part of this offense, which is at the bottom of the SEC.
Well, because you can't pinpoint it to one problem or two problems. It's a never-ending conversation. Well, every game there's multiple things that just aren't good. Some of them overlap and some of them don't, but every single game it's a major issue. All right, so back in 99, we know the issues that plagued that offense. 6 quarterbacks, defensive linemen playing offensive line. It was a debacle, right, Preston? And it's anybody that was around back then can unfortunately freshen it in your mind, and you go, wow, I don't even know how they finished the season with enough players to play offense. I think that makes this fall offensively from where they were last year, over 110 yards per game less, over 10 points per game less. I think like 13 points per game in the SEC right now. Lenoris Sellers was a Heisman candidate coming into the year. He's been credited with 6 total touchdowns. I think this makes this one of the most stunning falls from expectations I've ever seen in Gamecock football history. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the main culprit here because I've been trying to tell all offseason. I was saying, shake it off. It's not the Gamecock curse. We got a chance. We got a Heisman winner. This is gonna be our shot. Don't go into this season the way we always do. So I feel like I have to put my foot in my mouth. But all evidence pointed to that this was possibly going to be a breakout season, and it's been anything but.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot to say there, but I'm not gonna go any further than that. If one more question about a possible change here, just out of curiosity, but from the locker room standpoint, again, this is we don't know the answers questions. I think Preston, so I think that we're really kind of having a conversation on general feel, especially leaning on guys like you who put the jersey on, walked in and out of there, and understand these things a little bit better than the rest of us. If there is something like that happens, don't you have to wonder, is it a sigh of relief from the players? Like, okay, maybe we can break out of these chains, or do you lose some of the locker room? Are there guys who are bought in and they love Mike Shule? I don't think any of us really know the answers, but I'm just asking you what your general feel would be on if something like this dramatically happened.
Yeah, I think this has to deal with the person's disposition, as far as how they work with and or treat the players. You could easily, for instance, I picked UAB to beat Memphis this weekend.
Wow.
I picked it only because of what I know of Trent Dilfer, and I just felt like him leaving the room might provide a little bit more air in that space. And I just say that to say that I don't know how Mike Shula deals with what their relationships are. But Jamie, as you pointed out, it could go either way. For instance, from my own personal experience, when unfortunately towards the end of the Lou Holtz era, you could kind of look and see whatever side Lou Holtz was dealing with more or had his hands on more, they kind of underperformed. And it was a lot just because of his hovering and because of Lou Holtz being sort of the overbearing presence that he could be. And when he left, it felt like a sigh of relief for everybody on that side, coaches, players included. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would say I don't know. From what I've seen, that's not Mike at all. From what I've seen, but there can be changes when there are changes made. Some players may love it, some players may not like it, but that's not really what you have to do because they haven't been performing up to the standard. and you would point out, you would say, hey, if you love them that much, then you need to go and play for them like you love them, because you're not doing that right now.
Well, that's a good point. How would you assess Lenoris Sellers after 7 games?
This is another difficult question. He's obviously doesn't feel like he's the player he was last year. He didn't lose anything. It just feels like he's playing a little bit shakier with his confidence and going out there and making plays. It seems like he's thinking through processes a lot more. Feels like he's a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger on any throws that he's made. And I don't really know all of the quarterback stuff as far as, can you get into your head about making reads or trying to make the second read or whatever. I don't really know all of that stuff, but it just feels like he's a step slower to make the play than he was last year.
Mm-hmm. I felt like on Saturday, and I watched the game again yesterday, it's miserable doing this job sometimes, by the way, to feel like you know what you're talking about. You go back and watch these things, and just, it gets old. Maybe if they win a game here soon, that would be a little bit more fun. But I went back and watched. I felt like he was a little more animated at times this weekend, but not in a good way. And I'm not calling him a bad teammate. That's not what I'm saying. I just saw him throw his hands up a few times, almost to the point either what the hell are you doing or what the hell are we doing? Did you feel that way, or am I a little bit off base here?
No, there was one specific instance where he got hit and he sort of laid on the ground, and you knew he wasn't hurt, but he was just laying on the ground. It looked like he was just like maybe saying the Serenity Prayer or something. I don't know what he was doing, but he was just sort of laying there, and you just could tell that he was like, I love that question. He's like, what? It felt like, what the hell are we doing? And I don't, and to his credit, I have not got the feeling that he's saying, what am I doing here? Or what is, like, it's not worth it. It just felt like he's just like, we can't get this together. And that did get that sense from him this weekend.
You were on the 0-2 team, right?
Yes.
I covered that team game by game, and I made the analogy yesterday. Corey Jenkins, I was so impressed with him because it wasn't working. I mean, the offense was just a disaster. He never threw anybody under the bus. He, in post-game interviews, always was composed. I thought he handled it as well as you can. And I would say the same thing about Lenoris. I think that Lenoris could easily be a very bad teammate right about now. He's not, and he's doing everything he can. He doesn't throw people under the bus. And I think, in a moment of candor, to your point, and we've had Pat DeMarco on saying, he hadn't played his best football. He just hasn't. And so, there's no need for any finger pointing at this point. But I have been impressed with the way he's handled it, emotionally and everything else. I mean, very similar to the way Spencer Rattler a couple of years ago when nobody was blocking for him. And I was like, if anybody had a right to just start throwing people under the bus, Spencer Rattler could do it. He never did. And I think that was to his benefit. I mean, if you're trying to find some positives out of a situation like this, it's how you handle it. I guarantee you this, and you know this, Preston, NFL scouts are watching how you handle this stuff. Because if you're a really high pick, and I'm not sure if Lenoris is going to be, when I say that, he could be late first round, for example, instead of early first round. But when you go to one of those teams like 25 to 32, chances are they're 25 to 32 for a reason. They don't have a great offensive line. They don't have a great wide receiver room. Very often it's a team that sucks. And if you're drafted in the first round as a QB, you're going to be asked to play right away. There's no more 3-year plans. They're going to pay you a lot of money. You're going to have to go out there, just ask, again, Rattler. He's playing with garbage in New Orleans, but he's producing. He's doing the best he can in that situation. So I take that as a positive sign, the way all that has been handled.
Yeah, and I mean, and I 100% agree with you. And one, Corey's Jenkins has always been, a man's man and a leader, that type of guy. He's just always been that. And I always make sure everybody understands, dude played quarterback and then went to the NFL the next year to play linebacker.
That's right.
It's the crazy.
And was a baseball player too.
And was a baseball player.
Yeah.
His linebacker, he was a linebacker with some guys you may have heard of. Junior Seau, Zach Thomas, Shannon Crowder.
Wow.
It's pretty solid crew of dudes that he was playing
That's
with.
awesome.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes. And I think what we're underestimating is while we had all those high hopes for Norris and Heisman, I'm sure he had them all too.
Sure.
And he's trying to figure out, like, man, this is not what I anticipated this year being like, because he had so much success last year. And this is probably, I don't know, Jamie, you may keep up with a little bit more, but I'd imagine, is this the first time he's ever failed athletically?
Got to be. Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not aware of him ever having like a losing season or something.
You know, he's state championship. His team, he takes a program that wasn't a traditional winner, takes them, they start winning. He wins at every level last year. I mean, he redshirted. That was, I guess, maybe a level of failure, but he wasn't playing. And then last year he comes in, sets the world on fire. So this is the first time he's like, what? I don't understand how this is supposed to work. So he's working through a lot of things himself.
It's Alabama this weekend, Preston, the 15-year anniversary from number 1 being knocked off by our friends Steven Garcia, Pat DeMarco, Alshon Jeffrey, and so many others. Marcus.
Just keep saying those names and make me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Why, that was just on the offense. I haven't even gotten to the defensive guys yet. You know, I mean, those guys were pretty good too. As we all well know, it'll be neat to see how many of them. And I need to text Pat and find out how many of them are actually going to make it back. But I know there will be a visor sighting this weekend. Coach Spurrier is planning to be in town. The Gators are off this weekend down in Gainesville, so he'll be here, kind of hobbling around. We'll see if he's out there for the the Gamecock chant, if he gets the crowd fired up, or what Steve's plans are. What is important going into this game for this football team, regardless of who's calling plays and what's happened to this point?
Man, you got to go out there and compete. I mean, I don't think we're not to a point in the season where, you know, you're just trying to get moral victories or anything like that. But you got to go out there and compete and go out there and, you know, all of that stuff that's happened, that's fine. You have to go out there and say, hey, man, we are attempting something to finish this season. It's obviously a disappointing, but you got to go out there and compete, whether it's for your own personal pride, your team pride, the name on the back of your jersey. Find a reason and go out there and compete.
Hey, look, man, you know, as much heat as Shane Beamer's been taking, he does deserve credit. It's been lost in all this other stuff that we've already talked about. He has repeatedly said, it is on me. I will fix it. So let's see what they look like this weekend. And if there's anybody can get them to buy in, it's Shane. I mean, he can get them to buy in. And this team, if you upend a team like Alabama, everything that's happened to this point, it quickly resolves itself, and you've got a new outlook on what the rest of the year could look like. That team in the Upstate isn't playing any better, for what it's worth. So
I know, and that's why this season hurts even more, because if we have a chance to get a one up on them, and we're wasting it, man. So that's why this is like, come on, fellas.
Just beat them at the end of the year, regardless of the record. You might finish 5-7, but that fifth one could be a big one.
It could be huge.
It could be the toilet bowl for both the Gamecocks or the Tigers. Back to the days of the mid-'90s.
98.
That
was the toilet bowl in 1998.
That's right. Hey, man, when you see him, please give a hug to Jay Phillips from all of us. We will put him in our prayers. For those that miss the news, Jay has let everybody know he has bladder cancer, and we will be praying for Jay and his family. Nobody deserves cancer, man. Jay's been doing a lot for a long time for South Carolina. We will continue to pray and think about him. So please give him a hug from all of us over here, okay?
Definitely, Bill. I mean, obviously dealing with cancer is one thing that unites us all, because nobody has either you've been personally touched or a family member, and that's just a fact. And
I know you're good at bear hugs. That big, what do you weigh now? About 240? 230?
Ooh, brother, I wish that was true. It's funny. I was watching the baseball game last night, and they said Vladdy Guerrero weighed 250. I said, no way. No. He may have weighed 250 when he came into the league, but not right now.
Dude, I don't know if your house shook, but mine shook when Springer's ball landed in the left field bleachers in Toronto. The Rogers Center was falling apart. That was awesome.
It was cool. It definitely is cool to watch for sure.
Nothing like Game 7 in the postseason of Major League Baseball, man. Thank you, buddy. Have a wonderful week. I sure hope we have some good news to talk about next Tuesday.
All right, man. We appreciate y'all as always.
Thanks,
Yes,
Preston.
sir.
All right.
There you go, Preston. The early game on 107.5 The Game. He is